Hi.
Good afternoon.
Everyone say hi.
Well, hi, everyone.
Hi. Billy, thank you very much for being here. Is this your first time in Scotland?
No, it's not. It's been, I think, my third or fourth. And may I say hello to everyone who's already said hello today, and I look forward to saying hello to the rest of you. You've been nothing but charming and absolutely lovely. Really fantastic. What should be extreme jet lag has been chipped away by your kindness.
That's
and
good to hear.
Generosity of spirit. Thank you.
Very good to hear.
Truly.
Well, I wanted to go back to the beginning, Billy. Let's go back to the beginning. I wanted to go.
God, who's that?
I was reading that you come from a theatrical family, and your first appearance on stage was when you were a little boy. Is that correct? Did you stage bomb? Did you?
I did.
Yes.
It was my parents were performing the theater in the round, and the ground floor was I guess folding chairs at the first stage, and then it tiered up, and I was in the front row, and I wandered onto the stage, not really knowing that it was a performance.
Nice.
Only realizing it when the audience laughed and seemingly applauded at their my parents' response, and I seemed to like it. Apparently, I think that was the point.
Were you always comfortable being on stage in front of a camera?
Seemingly.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of people here today that I've met. They're younger, aspiring actors, or they want to be voiceovers and that kind of thing. Are there any tips that you could give them for being comfortable standing in front of people? Because sometimes that's quite nerve-wracking.
I'll give you a practical trick that was given to me when I did Chicago on Broadway, which was an absolute pleasure. But I only had 2 weeks of rehearsal for the singing, the dialogue, the everything. It was like baptism by fire, just right into it. And one of them said, "Put a little bit of salt in your pocket." I said, "Why salt?" And I said, "Because it'll ground you. If you're feeling a little heady and you're not feeling right, take a bit of salt and put it on your tongue, and it'll immediately something about the minerals will just ground you. So put a little. If you ever do public speaking or you have to perform, put a bit of sea salt in your pocket and touch your tongue before you go on. I mean, that's as practical as advice I could give.
Before, not during.
Or during. Just get out there if you can.
Like, do you still? I mean, you've had such a long career, and of course you're used to doing what you're doing. But as an actor, do you still feel anxious? Do you still get nerves? Do you still feel that before you do a big job?
I like the controlled chaos of knowing a little bit of what you're going to do, being prepared for beautiful accidents, and being surprised by what is, by being in the moment. So it's not really nerves per se. I mean, there's danger, which I think is always a bit handy in the creative process. But then that becomes, your modus operandi. That becomes your tactic. So I thrive off what might be otherwise daunting.
Yes.
And if it's too stale and too pat and too safe, for me, something's a bit wrong. So I just have to, you have to surf a little bit in order to find the magic and surprise yourself and others, and be surprised by other performers and crew members.
It's like that adrenaline. It's almost like, I quite like that feeling of being on the edge.
Yeah.
Sometimes that sort of carries you, kind of thing.
I cannot really disassociate that feeling from a creative process for me.
100%. Before we go on to your creativity, I'm going to ask you about your painting and all that kind of thing in a second, but
sure.
We have to talk about Titanic. So Titanic fans here? Yes. So Cal's one of those characters that you kind of love to hate.
Indeed.
I mean, do you think he was just a bit misunderstood? He wasn't that bad. I think people really hated him.
Yeah, he was a product of bad programming. Fundamentally, I don't think he was he was certainly a character of the times, and in a way carried the age. But the the hubris and was I found very humorous, and as did James Cameron. We inevitably, I think, would laugh pretty much. The more appalling the decisions were and the things that came out of his mouth, the more funny it seemed to us, because he was so shockingly arrogant, certainly, and clueless. But just the fact that there was no question to him that he was getting off this boat, and the sinking was almost like a nuisance. And he's like, "Where's the chick? You know, where's the girl? And it's the sinking, shrinking, whatever." And that was just insane. And if you watch it with the eyes of, if you can see it as a comedy in a weird way, you'll see a twinkle that is there that is just kind of insanely unnerving and somehow and certainly entertaining. At least it was to play.
I can imagine. It was quite a fun one to play.
It was. Sure. It was shocking. He was such a, I can't use the language in this mixed company.
He was not a very nice man.
He was a piece of work.
Yes,
Let's put it that way.
He's a piece of work. Naughty. I have a podcast called Real Imagined Futures, where we imagine what happened to famous movie characters after their stories ended. So we continue and we almost like write what would happen next.
Oh, interesting.
So I wanted to ask you, when Cal got to safety, what was his story? What do you think? Where do you think he went next? When he was looking for Rose on that boat and she hid, where did he go after that? Did he learn his lessons, do you think?
I think so. I think there was we played those moments, although silent, like a silent film. Those gestures in the lifeboat, the hesitant acceptance of the flask we thought would be a good thing to receive from someone else, and literally share a drink with someone from steerage, and that I'm sure was something he wouldn't have done, and without sterilizing it or wiping it, he was just like, all right, and it was a great leveler. There were small gestures in that, and the pacing of his wandering in the Carpathia and how he looked and didn't really care about those things. That was all a reset. Subtle, but I think everyone has the capacity for redemption. I think the epilogue story of suicide with the markets was, perhaps fitting, and maybe tied to other events, but we believe he was changed by the experience. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, you've played quite a lot of dubious characters. I won't say villains, I'll say dubious.
You can say villains. You can say unimaginable bastards if you...
Dickheads. No offense. But you've also played, I saw you years ago, giving away my age slightly, in The Phantom.
Yeah.
Nowadays we have, the MCU, the DCU, we've got all these huge superhero franchises. Do you think The Phantom would work nowadays if they had to remake this again?
I would rather say remake. I think you can carry the sequel because it was a father-son legacy, and I think it would work in context because I think we've gone to such a degree. We've blown out those DC MU universes to a degree where we've had superheroes fighting aliens for some time now.
Yes.
And I think the thing about the Phantom was he had no superpowers. He was superhumane, not really superhuman, and he was well adjusted.
Yeah.
He didn't have issues. He wasn't like, while being a bit of a I guess by nature of some kind of Batman of sorts of the jungle, more like a Tarzan jungle lord. He liked his job. I think he had good moral compass. He had animal friends, and he had a girlfriend. And I thought, the guy was cool, and he was aspirational. And the idea that I think his success came early as the first, I guess, masked superhero. The success came around the idea that he was attainable, that you could be the Phantom, that you could
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think.
And I think he's a hero for the times, I think.
I think heroes get a bad rap sometimes because they're seen as boring, in comparison sometimes to villains who've got great dress sense and like they're a bit more kind of like theatrical and you can really play with it. And sometimes I think, heroes just seem a bit bland in comparison. Would you agree with that?
In what context?
In the context that maybe they're sort of like blander to people in terms of like, if you think of Captain America, he's just a good guy.
Yeah.
And
wholesome dude.
Yeah. Like, how do we make heroes a little bit more interesting, would you say?
Yes.
I have a really weird question to ask you. I'm going to pivot and I'll come and I'll...
Is that your water? Oh, do I get one?
That's your water.
All right.
So, first of all, random question. Do you like horror movies?
I like my horror movie.
Okay. So, this is the context of the question. So, I was on Rotten Tomatoes podcast this week, and we were talking about Event Horizon, great horror film from the 90s. And randomly, your name came up. I don't know why we were talking about it. We said, oh yeah, I'd love to see Billy Zane in the sequel going back to sort out the problems. And then somebody said, oh, wouldn't it be funny if the Spice Girls were your crewmates? So I wanted to ask you, I know it's true. Look, it was a long podcast, Billy. It was a long podcast.
They all are. That's the problem. They're too long.
Would you star in a film?
They ramble.
Would you star in Event Horizon with the Spice Girls as your crewmates?
There's only one answer to that, right? Of course. That's a movie I'd like to see.
Now, I'm going to ask you about your painting now, because I'm quite interested in that. But before I do, can I ask everybody stand, if you've got a question, come to this mic in the middle. Don't be shy. Oh, a gentleman. And I will come to you in a second. So, Billy, before we go to the fan questions, I heard that you paint and you also paint on set. Is that correct? When did you start doing that?
Correct. On the set of Titanic.
Ah. And so
7 months in Mexico. It was a healthy pastime, and I discovered my love for abstract expressionism and what they call action painting. I had my first show in 2010 and just had my latest 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles. You can look it up. It's at BillyZaneArt.com and click on the show called Action, and you'll see some of the works.
Congratulations on your
Thank you.
shows
It's
as well.
just something I do for myself, and I enjoy working on locations and kind of geotagging the artwork with the... most of the materials are upcycled, so it's a form of recycling. I like finding paint that would otherwise be headed for the tip and repurposing it, or found objects, burlap, things that, if not canvas, recyclable items, and turning them into collectible items.
Do you find that your work as an actor influences what you're painting, and do you express that into your painting, or are they separate for you?
No, they inform each other, much in the way the controlled chaos I described earlier absolutely occurs on canvas and in painting. They're not conceptual, they're improvisations, and require a bit of, force and commitment. So they're kind of, I guess, masculine in their application, but maybe feminine in their beauty, perhaps.
You should check it out. He's very good.
Oh, you're very kind.
Yeah, you're very good. Okay, let's go to the lovely fans. So please step right up to the mic so we can hear you, and please tell me your name and what's your question.
Hello, my name is Liam. My question for Billy is, big fan.
Liam.
Are you still good friends with Derek Zoolander?
He's a cool dude, I have to say. And yeah, I saw him not long ago during the Emmys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question, my lovely lady. Come up, speak to the mic. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Laura.
Hello, Laura.
My question is there a film that you've perhaps had to turn down due to other commitments, or one that you've went, actually, that film just isn't for me, that you look back and go, oh, that was a big mistake, or I kind of wish I'd actually taken that role?
There's like 3 different questions there. There's some I've turned down that at a time I didn't want to be. I think I just did Dead Calm, and I knew that character was going to cement me for a while as a bastard on a boat, which I guess it did pretty well. I kept repeating that cycle curiously, and it was to do a Julia Roberts film. What was it? Enemy? No, the
Sleeping with
the Enemy.
Thank you.
And I didn't want to do that, and I thought that would make a difference, and it didn't. I probably should have done it.
Thank you very much, Laura. Hello, my friend.
there.
What's your name?
My name's Scott.
Hello.
And a question is, obviously, the music of Titanic is
Yeah.
one of the most iconic parts. I'm just curious what your reaction was when you first heard James Horner's music, and specifically My Heart Will Go On.
I wept like you. It moved me to no end. There was something incredible about it. I'm not a musicologist, but I know there's math in it, and hidden math, and it'd be something called the Tristan chord. Who knows? Puccini is a mathematician. He breaks my heart every time I hear a 3-note progression of an aria I've heard over and over again. It hits you in ways. Music is an insanely powerful medium, and the combination of Celine's voice and Horner's music and that lovely song, it melts you. It's lovely. To have that entrance music is kind of it's emotional. I'm a little teared up right now. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, you can't see, but his glasses are actually steamed up. They're actually steamed up right now. Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you, mate.
Hello, my friend. What is your name and what's your question?
Hiya, my name's Cole, and just simple question: what's your favourite Scottish snack?
Did you ask this earlier?
Yes. I did.
Okay. Do you come to every? Are you like a travelling kind of Scottish snack question? Okay. Yes, go for it. Scottish snack.
Can you make that multiple choice?
Or drink, or
No. Give me 3 snacks.
3 snacks.
Okay.
Deep fried Mars bar, iron brew, Tunnock's tea cake.
Oh.
I'll have to go with the tea cake.
Yes. Okay. Does that satisfy you? Thank you. Any Tunnock's tea cake fans here? Yeah, they're good.
It's been a while since we've had a collective whoop. I'm glad it was over a tea cake.
I've never done a whip over a tea cake.
Oh, that was good.
It was good.
We're going to do a Mars bar wave in a minute.
Yes,
sir.
We
Sorry.
should. Go for it. I'm so sorry.
Good afternoon.
What's your name, my friend? And what is your...
And what's your favorite snack?
Italian food, I guess.
Oh, well then.
Okay, all right. What's your question? What's your name?
My name is Rulof, and I have a question regarding Titanic.
Yes.
Well, as you know, it was a huge production, and even though it's a long movie, many scenes eventually didn't end up being in the final cut of the movie. I'm curious, do any scenes in your memory stick out as, something that you were particularly proud of, or something that stands out in your memory making the movie that didn't make it to the eventual cut of the movie? And if yes, can you describe it?
That is a very good question. The only scene that I remember that I was party to that didn't make it into the film was one in the on the tour of the boat. Early in the voyage, we had a scene in the gymnasium that Jack and Rose have a moment on the rowing machine.
They are in the deleted scenes.
Yes, that one. I can't recall others. Although they reshot when we were in the lifeboats and it was all going to hell. Danny's death was not due to the smokestack crushing him. It was due to me whacking him in the head with an oar, because people were trying to swamp the boat, and that was turned into much more of a brutal sequence of again. Did he save the people in the boat, or did he just take out a bunch of drowning people early? It was kind of a hit or miss. Like, did he save the little girl, or did he save himself?
Yeah.
And the answer is both, I think.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a good question. Appreciate it. Thank you. Hello, my lovely lady. What is your name and what's your question?
My name's Alana. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Alana. Nice
Hi.
to meet you.
Did Kate Winslet really spit in your face?
Oh,
17 times.
Really?
When she went dry, they gave her KY jelly to spit into my face.
oh God.
So
Thanks.
glamorous.
Thanks.
Movies are glamorous.
Hello there. Oh, I love your skirt. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, my name's Dawn. Hi, Billy.
Hello, Don.
I just wanted to say, you've had this career now that spans like 40 years. And,
Thanks, Don.
You've done it. I just wondered, for you, just reflecting back, is there anything acting-wise particularly that you've done that was so special for you? Perhaps even something less known that people would like to, for people who want to discover more of the work that you have done, that maybe you could direct people to, that you're particularly proud of, something really special?
That's a very good question, and I'm sure there's a better answer than the one I'm going to give when I have put some thought to it. I tend to remember the films more so than my performance in them that I found special, that I found entertaining. Orlando is about to have I think, to your point, a 30-year, revival reunion. If I get back home in time, I'm doing a Q&A with Sally Potter about it at a theater in Los Angeles in next week or something. That's a great film. I love the character of the Phantom just because I love the character. And there's some recent work in a Netflix film with Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes called True Story. It was quite a very well-written scene. It was developed and written by the gentleman who made Narcos, and it's a long and almost it's a luxury to play a scene that long. It felt like a David Mamet play, and this character was a real shit, but he was a kind of a gangster, but a bit disarming, and it was a nice arc, and it was a fun piece. You might want to check that out. True Story.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I can't wait to
Pretty good.
to check that out, Billy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my lovely. What is your name and what's your question?
Hello, my name's Carrie.
Hello, Carrie.
I was just wanting to ask about the Titanic set, because I believe it was like a hugely built set. It was just something quite incredible, if I'm not wrong. What was it like working on a set like that compared to like maybe more like even like modern films rely on green screen and CGI a lot more? Like, what was it like working on such a good set?
It's a very good question, Carrie. The set was, in fact, 9/10 the actual size of the Titanic. It was, they built a ship out of wood and steel. It was built upon scaffolding, but it was by no means paper mache. It was formidable, and it felt like you were on it. And they built a studio to make the movie and put the boat, right on the edge of a cliff by the sea in Mexico. Random. It was shot in Mexico. And you felt like you were immersed and in the period. It didn't take much to imagine where we were and what we were doing until we finished work and the strains of mariachi bands would escort us to our cars, and then it was a bit of a mashup and a head trip. It was, again, most incongruous, thoroughly bizarre, but seemed to be effective.
What a great question.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sure.
Carrie. Hello there, friends. Come straight up. And what's your name and what's your question?
My name's Liam, and my question for you is, when you're working in the Titanic, who your favourite person to work with was?
Favorite person?
Thank you, Leo. That's a tough one. It's everyone was really lovely. Trying to think who I spent some of the more hilarious times with. I mean, Kate and Leo, certainly they were like brothers and sisters to me. They were, they were kids and sweet and funny, but I found I had a similar schedule. My days off were, pretty much paralleled with a couple actors, and one I really appreciated was Jonathan Hyde, who played Ismay, probably the other despicable character in the piece, but a lovely man, very funny. You know him from Jumanji and Anaconda, and he was enormously talented and very lovely. And it was just purely based on our schedule. So we gutter sniped through the back streets of Tijuana together quite often, looking for better tequila and funny stories.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. Okay, a round of applause for everyone that stood up and asked such great questions. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. So Billy, you've had such a great and varied career, and you're sitting here in front of us. What have you got on next? What do you want to do next? Where do you go after this? You've got your painting, you're still acting. Is there anything else you want to do or try in the future?
Try?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question.
Sorry, it's a big one too.
It is a big one.
So tell me about your life story. There you go.
I clocked about 10 hours in a helicopter. It would be fun to finish a license.
Oh.
But that was years ago, and I'd have to start over again.
What's it like flying a helicopter? I've never asked anyone that question because I find them quite scary. I don't know
There's
why.
a flight school in Compton known for its, hip-hop and gangbanging that can teach 7-year-olds to fly to their 21. And a friend runs this as a school to teach underprivileged kids to rise above their problems, literally. It's
amazing.
Pretty remarkable. You might want to look it up. Fly Compton is the nonprofit, or Tomorrow's Aeronautical Museum. And it's also the home of a Tuskegee Airmen, which were the Red Tails, the African-American fighter pilots from World War II. And my friend Robin started this school 17 years ago to teach these kids something else. And he's trained thousands of engineers for aviation and pilots. They've broken records, youngest pilots in aviation. Literally, you can start your license, you can start training at 7. It's kind of absurd, but they graduated the youngest commercial pilots. They were flying for United Airlines. They were 23.
Wow.
Pilot and co-pilot, and they have more flight hours than most of the adults going into aviation, taking up some of the seats needed in the aircraft, in the planes. It's not just novel, it's their aptitude is off the charts. So aviation, pretty interesting. I love those guys, and
cool.
that's something
So,
I should follow the 7-year-old, basically. I need to catch up. I need to catch up to a 7-year-old.
Catch up with those 7-year-olds, Billy. Billy, you've been so sweet and lovely answering everyone's questions and sitting here with us. And you're here all weekend as well, doing photo ops and autographs and things like that as well. So if you want to go check out Billy, go and say hello and tell him how great the panel was. Billy, you've been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, as have you. Thank you for may we have a round of applause for our lovely host and her brilliant questions in vintage dress, I'm told.
Thanks. No one's ever done a round of applause for the host, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. Guys, though, I want a huge round of applause for Billy because he's been here. He's come all the way over to Scotland. So round of applause for Billy Zane. Thank you so much, Billy.
Thank you, friends. Thank you very much.